You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Tottenham on Tour. This is Straight Outta Conte. I am here with Mr. Brian Daigle. Mr. Daigle, it's been a bit since we've done one. We've had some difficulties in the camp with health issues, myself particularly, but I'm feeling better. So good. Looking forward to get back to it. Good to see you. How are you doing, man? How's things?
Yeah, I'm good. As you said, it's been a bit. I mean, we did a late show last Friday, like we are this Friday, and obviously me being back in work, it just hit me exhaustion.
Yeah.
Who would have thought sitting down doing work was more knackering than sitting down talking about Tottenham? But yeah, apart from that, all is good. Most importantly, Ireland, how are you?
Yeah, man, I had the vid. I got the vid for the first time in 2.5 years. I managed to avoid it, but it was brutal, dude. It was much worse than I expected. Being vaccinated, having the fourth shot, I can't imagine what it would have been like without it. So, yeah, but I got through it. It was about 4 days of hell essentially, and just being really everything being really heavy and weighed down and difficult to now feeling basically normal. It was like it lifted, and then I was fine. So, feeling good now. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to the game against Forrest, which we're going to talk a little bit about right now, but we're going to get into, of course, this is Straight Outta Conte. So Antonio Conte's, yeah, the man has spoken. Some great quotes from what I've seen. I've seen a bit of the quotes. I haven't read the whole thing yet or watched it, but I have read a couple of quotes on some social media. So there's going to be some doozies in here, I think, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you.
Same here. So who's starting this time? Shall I do first question or you?
Yeah, you could go ahead.
All right, let's do it. So the first question was a 2-word question, which was team news. And Conte has said about Cuti's recovery is going very well. And I think at the start of next week, like Skippy, they have to start the training session with the rest of the team. But for this game, they are not available. I have to check a couple of situations about Lucas and Hill because today they didn't have a training session with us. But we have tomorrow to make the right decision for both players. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think these sort of the standard question off the top of conferences, team news, and whether or not we're fit or not. Romero not being fit, I think he said on social media he was ready to play. I think that's him just being him, which I love about it. But I think this is just Conte being careful with the players that he's got and making sure that everybody's going to be fit and ready and not put them in a position where they're going to get injured again, which is key with all the games we got coming up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Listen, from now, for the next 3 or 4 weeks, we got 3 games every week.
Yeah, it's going to be
having players available and fit at their pinnacle, and especially with West Ham in the league next after Forrest, then Champions League. We need Romero. He's a player that we can't face. I'd rather have 1 game without him as opposed to 4 or 5 games if he comes and picks up another injury. As for Hill and Lucas, Lucas, we'll wait and see. But Hill, it's when he says not training, it could be because he's off.
I was wondering about this one too. Do you think it's because he's off, or do you think it's because he sees something in Hill? Because I have seen a little bit of that in some of the socials. Whether they're true or not is hard to say. But it seems as though he does like something about Hill. Maybe he's keeping him around because he thinks he's going to be useful for the amount of games coming up.
There's huge talk that he's going to Valencia, but only once we find a replacement. So who knows? It could be Valencia have said don't play him, or we don't want to play him in case anything happens. So you never know. But I mean, Lucas, you'd imagine would be, because he's going nowhere. So you'd imagine that is one that there might be a slight knock.
But I think they also want to keep, because of rotation is going to be so key, as we just spoke about. This is a massive, Lucas is a great player to bring on at the end of a game with the last 15-20 minutes left, where he can make it really difficult for defenders. So he'll be an important player, I think, this season as a bench player for sure.
Exactly. So your question, Island.
Yes. What's the latest on players leaving the club? These are the fun ones. Right, here we go. For sure, if there are players that go out, then we need players to come in. That's the quote I saw. The club knows very well that the importance for me to have a squad with a couple of players in every role. For sure, we want to make happy every single player, but at the same time, we have to make the right evaluation for the club, for our team. So we'll see what happens. This is a good one for the sort of messages and who's he talking? I mean, he's obviously talking to the club, but also to the media. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to focus this solely on like we said, outgoings. He's saying that he wants a couple of this is a bit that I'm picking out, that he wants a couple of players for every position, and this is vital. And for me, it's not just players. Okay, one goes out, we just get another one in. It has to be quality. It has to.
Yep.
We have to bring quality in, not ones for the future, not ones that will just make up the numbers, genuine quality. But for players coming out, we've seen a few go out quite quickly, and I would imagine a few more will. It's just now we're getting to that point where time isn't on our side. In the summer, when everything started moving on incomings, we had all the time in the world, and we're like, oh my God, look at us doing this. Well, now we're getting to that window where it's like, right, things have got to move. And I'm a little bit annoyed that we're again waiting for players to come out before players come in, because with these players, which hopefully there's activity down the line, but I don't want us to be left short with only a short amount of time to bring the player in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're already in that scenario, Bri. We already have a short amount of time. It's 6 days left until the window shuts, right? So, I think this is a statement from him saying, "Get it done." You know, like whatever we need to get done, get it done. And I think it needs to. I think I've been very positive this window, and I think we started it really well. And I think it's going to take some time to get some of those players out, the Lascelles and Tanguys of the world, which we finally have done. There's still a few, the Regions and the Winks are still kicking around, and they're kind of annoying because we seemingly, like you said, have to get rid of them before other players come in here. I don't know if that's what he's saying here, that it's a must, but I would argue it is. So I would like to see that happen, obviously, and I think everybody else would too. So hopefully Conte gets what he wants here, because I think I could see him getting pretty annoyed if we start the game next week. Who do we play next week? What's the
Fulham?
Fulham. If we start Fulham without having brought in, a couple more players, at least a couple more players to fill in those positions. So to me, from his perspective here, I think it's a message, and it's also just a reminder. Hey, this has got to get done.
Yeah, the thing I'll add with this before I go on to the next question is, like I said, it needs to be not squad filler or ones for the future.
Quality players
have to be right. These guys either A, walk into the first team, or B, ask questions seriously of the players that are there to say, right, you need to keep your game up there because these people are coming in. So that's where I think people have got to be careful that if we just say we bring in Dan James and Johnny Evans, let's just say two random players, because we know we want a winger or an attacking, but that's not acceptable. It needs to be a step up from there. But we'll have to wait and see. Like you said, Fulham will be where people could start seeing where we are. But as it came into outgoings, he obviously focused on two people that have been kind of banished, and we know they're out the door and not in Conte's plans. And it was in terms of Reguilon and Winks, has there been any bids? His response are, there are players that are in the plan, and other players we want to try and give them the possibility to play more regularly and to try and get more time to play. I repeat, we are trying to find the best solution for both the club and the team, but also for the players.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a relatively obvious answer from him, and it makes complete sense. It's a difficulty with players that aren't necessarily wanted a lot by other teams, or they're overvalued, which I think Winks has been the case with him, where he's probably been overvalued by Spurs, thinking we should get more money, and arguably the man in charge has done that, and it's made it harder to get him out. I think you drop the price 10 million. and Winks goes quick to any mid-table club because he's a good squad player and can do a lot for, say, a Southampton or a team like that. And I think that I don't think that should have been hard to manage. I think that it's just been mismanaged. In regards to Reguilon, it's been a quiet one, and I'm surprised because I do think he's a really good left back. And I'm surprised that one's taking a long time. I feel like that should have been easy to get him out. But I do think that Conte recognizes the problem here and is just, again, repeating that we're trying to do the best we can here. It isn't necessarily as easy as everybody thinks it is, as it just get rid and move on, that we might hope. So he's just playing the sort of, I think, the club card in this situation because he doesn't really know what else to say.
Well, for me, this has been his default answer all summer for these two players in particular. Now, Reguilon, when I was on We Are Tottenham TV this morning, Ben mentioned a really good thing before I came on. He said, you'd have thought with Reguilon, he might have an outside chance of going to the World Cup with Spain. You would think he'd be like, right, just get me anywhere. I don't know if it's a breakdown with him and the club, or he's being picky where he wants to go, or again we're overvaluing, or even if
it's hard to tell, isn't it?
Even if this one is we could be offering something decent and people just aren't going for him, because you've got to remember, like I've said the whole time, when we bought him as a left back for Mourinho, not a left wing back for Conte. And now you've got to think what team wants him, what the ones we've been rumoured with. I actually thought he could have been used in a swap deal with some of these teams, with some of these players. But this one is, I think it will get done. It's just.
I think for him too. I think he has a famous wife or girlfriend, Marta Diaz, who is very, very Spanish, and of course, I think he's probably trying to get back to Spain. Maybe that's part of the challenge for to get, because there has to be certain clubs that want him, and then the level of the club that want him and that can afford his wages has to be at a certain level too. And there's not many of them, so maybe that's the issue he's struggling with.
You mentioned that one, but you got to look at it. He wants to get into the Spain team. He's obviously, we know Conte. You're not in Conte's plans. You are not playing. Yeah. He's just sitting there picking up a wage. Now, obviously, believe me, I think we would all love to sit down all week and get paid 70 grand for doing nothing, or 2 hours running every single day. I'd love, give me that job, sign me up. But you'd think someone at his age with his talent and a World Cup coming up, you'd just be like, send me somewhere. I'll get to, like Danny Rose did in the documentary. Like he went, get me out,
I want to play. I want to get. He's got to keep his fitness up. He's got to keep his game shape.
Exactly. And then when it comes to Winks, I'll close this question with Winks. Like I said, do you know what? Like you said, I think he could do well at another team. He could do well, but the thing is, he is here, and Spurs midfield is up here, and it's not.
Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah,
you started off brilliantly, got a horrific injury, and then over certain managers, you've just declined. And if Spurs want to go the heights that we're trying to, Harry Winks is not up to par, and he will be. If he went to a Southampton, a Villa, an Everton, he could do exceptionally well for them.
I think he would fit well into a different system. It's just he's not an Antonio Conte player.
It's not going to happen at Spurs. So by hook or by crook, get him gone.
Yep, I agree. All right, next question. Is Son's start to the season an issue with his confidence? If it is, do you keep him in the side to regain it, or do you take him out of the team? The answer is, very well, we're talking about a really important player for me and for the club. For sure, I think Sonny in the last 3 games has had chances to score, but there's a moment you're a bit lucky or a bit unlucky. I think no problem with Sonny's performance. His attitude and his commitment is always up very high. I'm happy with his performance, and I don't see any problems with him. For sure, very well, when you're a striker, you like to score. When you score, you win, you're happy. But at the same time, we always have to put the club winning before the interest of every single player. But it's not a problem. I repeat, he's an important player. Last season, he scored 23 goals, no problem. I'm sure when he goes to score, he will gain the right confidence. Thoughts?
So yeah, let's break this down. Again, I was on We Are Tottenham TV today, and the hate people giving Sonny in the comments, and we all know
ridiculous.
We know the comments on all YouTube channels, not just Tottenham. Anything in the world, you can get some ridiculous comments. I think it's gone beyond pathetic. If we break this down, Southampton, he didn't play well. Fair play. He did not play well, or by his standards, he did not play well. Chelsea, he weren't the best, but when
got marked out of the game too in that game.
When I watched Match of the Day and watched all the analysis on Sky and everything after, the way Reece James and Tuchel had everyone like when he go on him. And against Wolves, he was poor, but it was his corner that set up the goal, and it was a training ground routine. And you know what? Like how the manager of the month curse strikes. Do you know what?
Yeah.
He's a Golden Boot winner now, and everyone's looking at him like you're a
Yeah,
Golden. You get that kind of
right?
accolade now that you should be bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And for me, Sonny has got more than enough credit in the bank
Absolutely.
to have a few games where he's not up to par, and he hasn't by his standards. He has not been up to his standards. But the thing
And
is,
I think Brian, I think he's going to know this too, right? And I think he's suffering more than anybody because he cares enough that his goal is to stay at the level he was at last season. But like you said, and I think this is an important part of it, is that it's incredibly difficult to be at that level in the first place. But to have that pressure on you from a previous season where you won a Golden Boot, to maintain it going into the next season, I think we've seen that from Harry Kane. When going into the next season after finishing one. There's probably a little bit of he's a little tired. It's like all of the energy that goes into getting to that level that he did last season. Starting the next season, maybe you start a little slow. So I think Conte's right here, and give him some time. The kid hasn't lost his ability. He's still going to do all the things he's very good at. Once he comes good, he's going to come very good. And we've seen this from Sonny too. This isn't the first time this has happened. He has had many times where he goes off the boil for 2 or 3 games, and then when he hits back hard, and he comes in and he scores 3 or 4 goals in 3 or 4 games in a row. And Sonny's back, and everybody's like, "Oh, I can't drop Sonny. Can never drop Sonny." So yeah, this nonsense from social media and people discounting Sonny are just idiots and just don't really understand football and understand human psychology, because I think like Conte says here, and that's the important thing, we trust what Conte is going to say, and he trusts and knows what he sees from his players, and nothing to worry about from Sonny for me.
What you've got to remember as well is in previous seasons, if he's off the boil, there's no one's come on the bench to affect it. He has to now.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen Richarlison come on, and I've been very, very impressed, especially
me too.
against Wolves, and there is now that. Thankfully, if he is having a couple of games, there is that quality to bring on. There is that, and it's genuine.
Doesn't hurt us as much, right?
Exactly. So as I was saying, when Son has a couple of bad games, he when he's on his game, he's unstoppable. And listen, it's just been a few bad games. As soon as he scores 1 goal, we know he's a streak player. That will continue, and people will go back. I mean, have a word with yourselves. Have a word with yourself when you're trying to criticize him. Yes, coming out and saying sell him, he's useless, drop him.
It's ridiculous.
Settle down. Next question, and we haven't even spoken about this because it was yesterday. So
I know. I'm excited to
I'm sure we'll talk about it tonight on the Late Late Show.
We will. Yep.
Thoughts on the Champions League draw? You know very well we're talking about the most important and most difficult competition in Europe, maybe in the world. Because you find the best teams in the world in this competition. Our group, I see balance in our group. For sure, our target to try and get out, to go to the next round. This has to be clear. I think we gain the possibility to play in this important competition, and we want to enjoy, to play good football and possibly go far.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm excited about the draw. Obviously, there's a talk about it being too easy. I don't think any draw in the Champions League is easy. These are the best teams in the world. They're there for a reason. I think Conte has an odd record in the Champions League. He's never gotten past a quarterfinal, which is not the best record, but this draw for me is great for the club and great for the amount of rotation that's going to happen, because we'll be able to rotate. You're not going to have to play the same 11 that you play Chelsea on the weekend, and then the Wednesday you've got Real Madrid, where you have to play your best team. I think this gives us the ability to rotate in a way that's going to suit the situation that we're in with all the games we're going to have to play. And Conte, I'm hoping he can find a way to balance that. I think that's going to be key for us to go very far. And I think he has ambition, obviously, to get there. He's always going to have ambition. It's going to be difficult to play that much football and see how he manages how much football we're going to play for preparation, because I think that's always something that sticks against him is he needs that full week to prepare to play against the team, and in this case we're going to only have 2 or 3 days to do it for the Champions League. So I'm excited to play European nights again, and properly, not the shitty ones. So hopefully Conte can in this case can curb the critics and what they say to him, what they've said about him not being good in Europe, not being good in the Champions League, and get us far, and go on another journey. We'll see where we end up, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's all be serious. If we could have handpicked the draw ourselves,
It doesn't get any better.
pretty much, I think a lot of this. I mean, a lot of people wanted Maccabi Haifa obviously to go to Israel and everything.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice for the
and for Amir especially, obviously. But listen, the great thing about this and what I've loved about this draw is we're playing in 3 European countries that are close to England.
It's not it's not a lot of travel. Not a lot of travel.
Even I've seen all Spurs fans saying they can get the trains there, apart from Portugal. You know, what I mean, to Germany and to Germany and France. Obviously, it can be done. No flights. It's a very, very favourable draw. It's in our hands, and I mean, you got to say we got to be favourites to top it. Now that's not me.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not just me with my Spurs hat on. Obviously, you got the Europa Cup winners in there.
Yeah, these are good teams. Like this is what I said off the top. These are not teams that we should take lightly, but it is favourable nonetheless.
Yeah, we're going to see Ndika, someone who I really wanted to see at Spurs, but it's a very, very good draw for us, and we've got to be happy with it. So there's that one, and now it's over to you, Bri.
Yeah, mate. How excited are you to take Tottenham to Nottingham Forest for the first time in a while, and what have you made to the start of their season? Forest started the season very well. I think it's good. Nice to have Nottingham Forest in the Premier League because we're talking about a club with a great history. I've seen there's a great enthusiasm, great atmosphere. My expectation is to play around a lot of noise, but we're working well and preparing well. We know the game will be difficult. We have to go into the game with the right mind and try to do our best.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm so happy to see Nottingham Forest back in the Premier League. They were one of my very, very first away games. Me and Bob Spur always talk about the 91 FA Cup final. They're a team steeped in tradition, and they belong in the Premier League. It's brilliant to see them back. I'm really excited. I think this game is going to be like an absolute end-to-end, fast-paced, and it is great to have them back. And I think it may be the first time Conte goes to the City ground, because obviously I don't know if Chelsea got Forest in a cup.
I think it is the first time for him as well. Yeah, I was wondering.
It's a great little stadium, fantastic people, and yeah, I'm just really, really excited for this game, and it should be a good one.
Yeah, in regards to what he's saying here about preparation, I think preparing for this team, it's a hard one because it's an unknown, right? There's so much about Forest. I think they have 16 new players they brought in, which is and they've spent the most in Europe in the transfer window, which is nuts. But this is a team that is, like as you said, belongs in the Premier League. They have a rich history. I'd like to see them stay. And compete, and they're in order to do so, they've had to do this. They've had to spend this money because most of the players that they had that got them here in the first place were on loan, so they've had to fill in those positions. So I think it's a bit of an unknown. I think preparing for this team for Conte, it's going to be a difficult one because he doesn't quite know exactly what to expect, what system they're going to play, who's going to play, and how they're going to play. Now he can look at the manager obviously and see what the manager's done with them, and that will help him a little bit in preparation. And I think that they're just going to need to be ready physically. I think physically and with a lot of energy when you're coming up against a team like this, because they're going to have that in spades coming up against Tottenham Hotspur at the City ground. I think that for them will be a massive boost, and it's going to be a difficult first 15, 20 minutes, and we need to be ready for it. And I think that's what Conte is going to be doing in training, is getting them up and ready for it, because it's going to be a very intense start. And we have started very poorly in all 3 games this season. So it will be massive for us to fix that, and to fix it in a scenario where it's going to be really hard to. So hopefully Conte's got them buzzing and ready to roll.
There we go. So yeah, funny you mentioned 16, because the next question is, Nottingham Forest have brought in 16 players this summer. Have you ever had to bring that amount in, and does that make them harder to prepare for? Honestly, I don't like to speak about other clubs and the way they go and try to work. Every club tries to work in the best possible way. I think Nottingham Forest did a great transfer market, and to have a lot of signings can help them for sure. They want to keep in the Premier League, and this is very clear. I think the owner is really strong, and yeah, we're talking about a really good team. Jesse Lingard is now playing there, and the whole team is really good.
Yeah, Conte not wanting to talk about other clubs. I love it. This is sort of his typical answer when asked about other clubs and how they function. But I do like that he's pointing out here that they've had a very good window. I mean, I think if Conte could bring in 16 players in the summer, he'd be extremely happy, because if he could pick exactly who he wanted to want, this player, this player, this player, we'd be winning the league this year probably. We'd probably have about 4 or 5 of them that we'd keep, and then the rest of them would get replaced. But I think I like his answer here. It's very sort of an obvious answer. He is pointing out to the quality of Lingard, and obviously that the owner knows what he's doing and understands what he needs to do to get Nottingham to compete at this level and to stay competing at this level into next season. So good stuff from Conte.
Yeah, I mean, he spoke about Jesse, but for me, and I've said it, I am a huge fan of Morgan Gibbs-White. I think the price they paid for him was, obviously, football prices and transfers are ridiculous now, but that kid's going to be a star. And he came on against Everton and did a few bits and made an impact. I think he is a quality addition. Bringing in 16 players, listen, if they stay up and stay up comfortably, it'll be a masterstroke. Yeah. And if they struggle, it'll be, well, you brought too many players in.
We saw what happened to Fulham, right, a few seasons back, and
exactly,
they kind of did the same thing. So
exactly. So Forrest, like you said correctly in the answer before, a lot of their players, Spence being one of them, were loans. So they had to beef up for the Premier League. They know how competitive this league is, and like we said, this is like 22 or 23 years they've been without it. And the money that is generated from it, and what that City will get this year, and the riches that come for it, you've just got to be, after all the trouble they've been through, to have an owner that's going to put their money where their mouth is a fantastic thing for the club. And we'll just have to wait and see if it pays off. But Morgan Gibbs-White is a top signing.
Yeah, and they have a really good manager. I think that's got to be key to them staying up and being successful, is that the manager had what he was able to do last season to get them into the Premier League. And of course, we'll see. I think he'll be able to do something similar to keep them up. And I think they will stay up. I think he's smart enough and good enough as a manager to do so. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch and see where they're at and see where we're at with a difficult fixture. Next question is me, right?
This is you.
Does the season get more difficult from this point with the amount of games coming up? Yeah, I know this today. I was talking also with Fabio about the difficulty to play one game every 7 days is one thing. To play many games every 3 days is totally different. I was speaking about this earlier. This is the period where you understand which team, which squad are really good to be competitive. For many situations, to play every 3 days for injuries because players start to get tired, and you have to make rotations. It's the right moment to understand if your squad's depth is good and is the depth right and quality right. But this is for every club. Thoughts?
Yeah, so do you know what? The way, because of this World Cup that has been chucked a spanner in the works of everything, football worldwide, and where it is, we're playing games as regularly as we normally do at the Christmas break. And
it's basically that.
We've seen how grueling it is. And I mean, I think September and October we play 9 games in each, or something like 9 games in each, which is ridiculous when you think about it. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
So as he says, right now rotation is key, and then it comes back to obviously what we're going to do in the window, because that's where this rotation is going to become key. But yeah, it's going to get a lot tougher. It's going to get a lot tougher. The games come thicker and faster. And again, remember, we're away at all the big 6 first.
Yeah.
So those
games, which is arguably an advantage going into the next half of the season, but we have to do something with that before we get into the World Cup.
It's got to be strategically planned. And listen, don't be surprised if we do see a couple of players dropped in certain games. Don't think, they've been dropped because of whatever. It's
rotation.
They've been rested because that's what Conte's got to think of. So yeah, it's going to get 50 shades of tougher.
It might turn out that these 3 wingbacks in each of the positions is intentional, because that's how much we're going to play, how much football we're going to play.
Could be.
And those are the most important positions to rotate. I could see that happening. I could see every, maybe not Region, because it's likely he's going to go, but there's the squad rotation is going to be massively, massively important. And I think he recognizes that inevitably there's going to be players that are going to get injured. There's going to be tired players, and we're going to have to manage those players as well to try to keep them fit because obviously they're going to be very important ones that get injured. We may lose Harry Kane, we may lose Sonny, we may lose Kulishevsky for short periods because of just either tiredness or they might pick up a knock. So we have to be very careful. So it's going to be a very difficult season these next couple of months. And I think what he says here is important to recognize. This is for every club. Every team's going to have to go through this. Every team's going to have to recognize, do we have enough to get through it? Obviously, the teams that are in Europe are going to have an even more difficult time because the Champions League games are one after the other. There's no 2 months period between or a month and a half between games. It's 1 week fixture, 2 weeks pass, then the next one happens. It's very, very quick, and we have to manage that, and that's going to be really hard to do. So Conte, he's going to be put to a test here that he's never been put to in any club he's been at, let alone the test of being Spurs manager. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
So the next question. The general consensus is in the past few games has been good results, but not great performances from the team. Do you view it the same or slightly different? Honestly, I think the performances were good in my opinion. For sure, if you think you play against Wolverhampton and you won compared to last season, we lost 2-0. And after the first half, we struggled a bit. And then media or somebody thinks every game we go in and win 2-0 or 3-0, you're in a wrong way. Because we have to fight in every game, do you think it will be easy against Nottingham Forest on Sunday? I don't think so. We know our strengths and weaknesses. We are trying to improve at these aspects. But I repeat, the presumption has to not be part of us. We leave the presumption to others to tell what they want to say. We have to continue to work. Now we have 7 points more than last season with these 3 teams we lost. This is the truth. If someone tries to see negative aspects, okay, it's good. We're working to improve.
Yeah, I love this answer. I mean, this is sort of how I stand on it when it comes to the perception of what happened last season to this season, and recognizing that Spurs are a very good side, but are learning who they are, learning how to manage what it is that Conte wants. We brought a bunch of new players in. They've got to learn, so they're not going to necessarily get into the side right away. So he's sticking with the 11 that finished last season, which we know has flaws in it. The defense isn't always perfect, although arguably they've been very good in the end of last season and in the season when it comes to some of the players that often get slagged. He's recognizing what I think, if you're reasonable about where we're at as a club, is the situation. Of course, we can improve some of that with transfers, but the reality of it is that this is the most difficult league in the season in the world, and that this season in particular in the Premier League is going to be the most challenging. Some of the teams that are supposed to be lower rung are still very good teams. You're coming up against a game every week that's going to be difficult. We saw what happened with City against Newcastle. Went down 3-1 and had to come back to get a draw. That's a Newcastle team that last season was, at bottom half of the table. These teams, everybody's getting a lot better, and we have to be prepared for it. And fans have to be recognized that, to have done what we've done so far this season, despite it not being beautiful, 7 points from 7 that we didn't get last year is an improvement, and we should be proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, all I got to say is people got to remember this is the goddamn Premier League. This is not an easy. This is one of the toughest, if not most intense league in the world. We know it's the most watched and everything, but this isn't like Italy or Germany or Spain where 2 teams are up there and they just smash everything. This is the most competitive game now. I used to say when Arsenal, when the Filth were winning 1-0 and winning titles and they were playing boring football but won titles, do you think they were complaining about the style of football? No. They weren't. They were like, trophy results.
Yeah.
We are in a result. Yes. Do I want to see us playing beautiful one-touch football, beautiful on the eye, just attacking? Of course I do.
Yeah, but there will be some of that, right? We'll get some of that, right?
Yeah. Do I want to sacrifice that for picking up points? No. And we have got 7 points as Conte. We're all saying, you take these games last season, we're set on 0 points. We'll be where West Ham are. That big club.
Yeah.
We're now
get the dig in there, Brian.
Yeah, of course. But now I've got West Ham and the Filth in one question. I'm on fire.
That's brilliant stuff.
So listen, we're 7 points up. The football will come. This is the start of the season. Let's wait. As you know, with Conte, we hit our rhythm pretty much from that Aston Villa game, I would say, where we battered them 4-0. And then,
Yeah.
all right, we had the Brentford and Brighton game in between. But from then, we were pretty much, right, off we go, here we go. And it takes that bit of time. And I've been saying this as well. I don't know if people, and not just Tottenham, around the world now, are knowing that the World Cup is close, and do they want to get injured, or do they want? It's got to be in their head that, like, literally, I don't want to pull a massive hamstring, or I don't want to go in for that tackle full throttle, because if someone,
it's a tough one to balance, because
yeah,
usually the season's over and then you play a tournament, so whatever happens, right, and you just kind of manage that. But
exactly,
and there's space in between. But this is like boom. You're like, I think that's a good point, Brian. I think that a lot of players are probably subconsciously probably not even like fully aware of it, are maybe being a little bit more careful than you'd want them to be. And I think that's going to be across the board. I think every player
it's not just Tottenham; it's
go
worldwide.
Yeah,
Worldwide.
absolutely.
So this is another thing with the World Cup, but again, we should have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I don't have much to add to that. I think you've nailed it. So, when it comes to the next question, what are the weaknesses and what are the things you've picked out ahead of the next few games? And he responds, "We want to try to improve always in every aspect. I've seen a lot of positive things for sure. If we were the team of last season on Saturday, we wouldn't win. I'm sure, because this team is now becoming resilient and learning to suffer. Love that. I think if you want to become competitive, you need to find and improve this situation against Wolves. It was the first time this season we didn't concede a goal. I see a lot of positive things. Every single person tries to see the situation the way they want to see it." Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the one word just stands out like a sore thumb for me: resilient.
Resilient. I agree. I was thinking the exact same thing.
It's literally
and suffer and learning to suffer. That sentence, resilience and learning to suffer.
That's pretty much it. I mean, that's what we need to be. I mean,
that's winning mentality is what that is.
We all said at 1-0 down to Southampton, no one, the stands and the stadium weren't going, oh no, or us at the Scotland Yard, or around the world, fans weren't going, oh shit, here we go. But like, okay, come on, let's rally around, let's do this. And then if you look at it, when we went 1-0 up against Wolves, not at one point did I feel like, okay, we're going to throw it away. Yep. Not at one point. It was like, okay, we're 1-0 up, let's just see this out. And we did.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I haven't really had a lot of my life being a Spurs fan, saying when it's 1-0, to say, all right, we'll just see it out like the big boys do. These are the results that get you higher because you see the game out. Forget the 4 or 5-0 wins that we all love. It's getting those 1-0 wins when you haven't played well or it's been a tough game and dealing with it. And that word resilience is just the word for me, the word of the interview.
Yeah, and I want to add to that too. The second word for me is that part of that sentence, the suffering. It is really, really, really difficult to win games like the way we won that game against Wolves. When you're under the cosh, you need those 3 points, and you have a team who's very technical in front of you, who's very good and difficult to play against. And I think you have to suffer. You have to deal with the fact that you're going to be under pressure, and suffering and being resilient is what you do as a team, and how you become a better team, and how you win things. It's winning mentality, and it's great to hear him talk like that, and it's great to see that the team is doing it and following what he's saying, and we're with Conte, and absolutely love it. So yeah, Conte with another wonderful interview. Fantastic stuff, Bri. Really looking forward to the weekend. How are you consuming the game this weekend?
So this weekend, I'm not going to the Scotland Yard because my beautiful and wonderful wife Ilana is abandoning me and going
My girlfriend did the same, Bryce. So
she's going away on business for a couple of days. So where is it you're going? She's going to Winnipeg. So she's going to Winnipeg for a few days. So I'm going to watch the game at home and then spend the rest of the day with the wife. And hopefully, if the weather's good, get to the CNE.
You'll be down my parts. Too bad.
Hopefully, if the weather's good, we'll be right down by you. But I will be at home for the game. And what about yourself? Obviously, you're probably staying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stuck at home, so I'm going to be stuck at home, watching it from my couch. But looking forward to tonight. Tonight, when you watch this, you'll see this later this afternoon. We'll be doing we are Tottenham on tour on Tottenham on TV, the late Spurs show. So tune into that. Same time as last week, 8:00 Eastern time, which I believe is 1 a.m. 1 a.m. GMT. For those late show folks who want to join us, looking forward to that. Brian, it's been a pleasure. Good to see you again.
Always,
see you again later again today, and have a great day at work. And everybody else, thanks for watching. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Conte.